Hey everyone, thanks for joining Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and in today's video I want to look at a brand new expansion for Everdell called Newleaf. This is a new one from Starling Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 45 minutes to an hour and a half to play, and is a competitive game where players are going to be competing with each other throughout the game to build up their tableaus and have the most points at the end of the game. So in this video, I'm going to take you through this brand new expansion to Everdell, talking about what is included in this one, and then explaining and teaching you how to use this in your games of Everdell. Whether you just want to add this particular expansion, or if you just want to add different modules from this one to your existing games and mixing and matching things. Just like in some of the other expansions, there are parts of this you can pull out and use in all of your games, or you can incorporate all of it into your games of Everdell. Totally up to you on how you want to use it, but I'm going to take you through and explain how each one of these things works and how you can incorporate it into your game. So as always, if you find my videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can support channels like mine so we continue to grow, be able to produce this content. If you want to get notified anytime I drop new videos, as I'm constantly adding new things including teaching videos, playthroughs, unboxings, and Kickstarter and GameFound coverage, hit that notification bell and that'll let you know whenever I drop a new video. So let's go ahead and head to the table and I'll teach you how to play. Next, let's take a look at what is included in this expansion. So first off, you're going to get brand new point tokens. These are going to be 6-point tokens. And then you're going to get a whole collection of new critters. There's 4 new critters introduced in this one. You'll have purple snails, brown bats, orange cats, and yellow bumblebees. And you're going to have the frog ambassadors to go with them, as well as the traveling bunnies if you're using one of those expansions with these. Or you can incorporate these critters in your other games. If you have your favorite in this game, you can use it in other games of Everdell. Next, you're also going to get 6 reservation tokens and 2 new locations you'll be placing out on the main board, which I'll show you during setup. You're going to receive 6 of the train tickets, and that is a module that you can use in this, which I'll explain a little bit later. And then there's going to be 4 new critter cards, and each one of these has their own specialties for the 4 new critters that are included in this game. And again, those are depending upon if you're using them or not. Next, moving over to the cards, you're going to have 3 new forest cards that you can simply shuffle in with your other cards if you want to. And again, I'll go through all of this during setup as well. You'll have 9 new special event cards, as well as 32 visitor cards. And then there's going to be 69 brand new cards that are will include new critters and construction cards. You also get new golden occupied tokens, and these will be used for these specific cards that are going to be used in this expansion. You'll also get a brand new tile that is going to slide into the side of the main tile. You'll get a randomizer bag for the train cars, and then you'll receive train car tokens, and these will be placed into the bag to randomize it. That is everything included in this expansion, so let's go on and move into how to set this up with your game of Everdell. The next thing I want to cover is setup. So with this setup, I'm going to assume that you already know how to set up the main game board. And so this is just going to explain how to set up the Newleaf part of this expansion onto your main game board, and then all the other stuff with this if you're using the entire expansion. Now, if you're just adding modules, then you'll go ahead and carry that out separately. And again, I'll cover the rules for those a little bit later in the video. So moving into setup, the first thing you're going to do is connect the Newleaf tile or board onto your main game board onto the side. From there, then you're going to take your main deck of cards and shuffle in the other deck of cards. Now, if you just want to add these cards into your main game, you want to remove the 2 locomotive cards from the deck, adding those back to the box, and then the rest of these will be shuffled in. Again, that's just if you want to add these cards into your main game of Everdell, not including the Newleaf expansion. Otherwise, you're going to add the locomotive cards in there and then shuffle those into that main deck. I'm not going to do this for this particular setup, as that is just a massive deck to have to shuffle at this point. So once you're done with that, then you'll move on to the next step. From there, the next thing you're going to do is grab the visitor deck. You're going to go ahead and shuffle this deck up and split it into 2 equally sized decks, and then flip each one of those decks over and place it next to the train. And these will be the active decks for this. And then the discard pile is up here on this building. Then you can go ahead and take all of your train car tiles and place them into the bag. Go ahead and give them a good shuffle, and then you're going to draw 3 out and place those on each one of the open train car spaces. And then go ahead and place the bag off to the side as you're going to be using that throughout the game. From there, then you can go ahead and grab the special event tiles, and these can be used in 3 different ways. You can either just use the ones from the base game, just use the ones from this, or you can mix and match them using shuffling these in with the old ones and then just seeing what comes up, or you can take 2 from your old deck and 2 from the new deck, however you want to do it. Now, I did want to point out that there are some special rules for compatibility between the different versions that they've included here. So for those of you that have the earlier Everdell, according to this, they have replaced or renamed a couple of cards, which I'm not 100% sure why they did that. I think that these little guys are absolutely adorable, but they did replace the husband card with Harvester and the wife card with Gatherer. But I'm not sure why that is, but they chose to do that. But with my game, I do have the older version, so mine are still going to be labeled husband and wife. And I will not be replacing mine. I think that's just cute that they have those little guys in there. All right, so from there, then you'll handle that as you would normally. And I'm not going to do that at this point. And then the next thing are with the forest cards. So again, with the new ones, just shuffle those in with the existing ones as you won't have enough to cover otherwise. And then deal out 4 as you usually would. From there, then there are also 2 new events, special event tiles. So this first one is the Scenic Flight, and that'll be placed over here. And then you have Big City, and that one will be placed over there. And now you'll have additional events out there on top of the 4 that you normally do. Then you're going to go ahead and draw and reveal 3 new cards from the deck, adding them over here by the train station. From there, then, with player setup, there's a couple of additional steps. First off, each player is going to receive a reservation token with the side up that has the minus resource, which is right below the E on it, as you can see here in this image. Then, each player is also going to receive a train ticket with the outbound ticket side up, and 3 of the golden leaf tokens that they'll be using throughout the game as well. And a player can never get more of these. There's no way of getting additional golden leaf tokens. Even if you remove one of the cards that has them in the game or whatnot, you are always going to be limited to 3 of these tokens. At that point, then you're ready to move into the game as usual. Moving over to the Newleaf cards, there's one new important feature I want to go over with these. So like in the original Everdell, each one of these is going to have a way that you can build some critters for free if you've pre-constructed a building. Unlike in the original Everdell, these have a golden banner and are less restrictive, so you don't need a specific building to make a specific critter. With these, for example, with the hotel, it can build any tan critter. And with the bumblebee, or the baker here, this one can be made by any green building. So if we look at a couple examples of that, for example, with the farm here, this one can produce normally just the husband or wife, where with this particular, the baker, it can build the baker because the baker is used by any green building. Now, the one exception to that is that you're going to have to use one of the golden leaf tokens. So even though this normally would require just a regular occupied token, you must use a golden leaf token to activate it to build the baker. Or another example of that, let's look at another new card, the greenhouse. So this one can make any green critter. So again, could be the baker because he is listed as an any, or it could be another green critter that we require that. Again, you'd have to use the golden leaf token instead of a regular occupied token. And you only have 3 of these in the game, so you're going to have to be a little bit more selective on when to use them and what to use them for. The first location I want to start by looking at is the train station board. And with this, there are 2 different locations you can go to on it, the station itself and the knoll. Now, with these, each one of these works a little bit differently. With each one of these spots, as listed above it, you can only place 1 worker here per season and then activate the abilities on there. So each player can go there, but each player can only have 1 worker there at any time. So first off, let's take a look at the knoll. With this one is when a player places a worker on there, they can discard 3 cards from the meadow, /station, and then replenish them. From there, then they're going to draw 3 cards from the meadow station and then gain a train car tile. So looking at an example of that, let's go ahead and say that we wanted to get rid of this one. Let's get rid of the storehouse and the peddler. So from there, then these are going to be discarded, and then we'll replenish those with 3 new cards. So, all right. Then we get to draw, happen to be a peddler again. All right, so then we get to draw 3 cards from these 2 different areas. So let's go ahead and say that we take the poet, I'll take a resin refinery, and the fairgrounds. Then again, you'd replace those with new cards as usual. And then you're going to choose one of the train station cars and gain that particular resource. So let's go ahead and say we just gain a point. So then this is going to be discarded to a separate discard pile. And then you're going to draw and place a new train car in there. And that is the conclusion of that particular action. The other new spot is the station. Again, with this, you can only ever have 1 worker placed on here during each season, but each player is allowed to place one of their workers on here if they choose. Once you've done that, so let's go ahead and say that our player has chosen to take this action, you get to choose one of the visitor cards to discard. So let's go ahead and say that we don't really like this one. So we'll go ahead and discard this, placing it face down on the discard section. Then you get to choose one of the available ones to gain adding it to your area. Now, an important note with these is that these are going to give you different requirements that you'll have to meet at the end of the game in order to gain the victory points that are listed on them. If you don't meet the requirements, then you simply don't gain any points, but there's no penalty for not completing these at the end of the game. So let's go ahead and say that we want this particular one here, so this will be added to our area. Once you've made your selection, then again, you get to choose one of the available train cars and gain that particular train car. So for example, let's go ahead and take this one. That'll give me 2 twigs. Again, I will discard it and then draw a new one to replace that in the train cars. And it happens to be 2 more twigs. The next new feature I want to talk about, which is one of the modules which you can add to your games of Everdell with or without using the train station or Newleaf expansion, is the train tickets. So the train tickets can be used up to 2 times during the game. And with these, this is going to be a brand new action during your turn. You can choose to use this as your action. This allows you to move one of your workers to another location. Now you have to follow all of the placement rules for this, and you are not allowed to move your frog ambassadors or your big critters or any worker that is in a permanent location. So those are the restrictions to this. But let's take a look at an example of this. Earlier, I placed my worker on the null, and let's go ahead and say that I want to use the train ticket. So it's going to start the game on the outbound side of the ticket. In order to use it, I flip it over, and then I'm going to that allows me to move my workers. So let's go ahead and say that I ended up wanting to go here instead, and then I'll be able to carry out the abilities on that card. Now, an important note, when it is on its inbound side, it cannot be used again until after you have resolved the summer set or resets for that. So once that happens, then during summer and later in the game, you can use this again. This time it is simply going to be discarded to carry out that action again, which allows you again to move your worker. The other new module that you can add to any game of Everdell, including games that you're not using the Newleaf expansion with, is the Reservation token. So with the Reservation token, this is going to add a brand new action you can choose to take for your turn. This action is going to allow you to reserve one of the cards either from the meadow or the station, adding it to your area. This card is not going to count against your hand size and is not going to count in any way towards anything you have. And so, for example, let's go ahead and say that I really wanted the gardener. I could go ahead and take him, adding him over to my area, and then I'll place my reservation token on him. Now, in later turns, I can choose to purchase him as normal, and the reservation token is going to give me a -1 of any resource of my choice to that cost. Now, an important note with this is that that is not going to be combined with any other thing. So if you have a card or something that's going to reduce the amount of resources you have to spend to pay for a card, you cannot use those in conjunction with this. You have to choose one or the other to use. Once you have taken care of that, then you're going to place the card as usual, and then this reservation token will be flipped over to its other side and will be reset during the next reset season step. And as you can see here. So with this token, the other big thing with it is during a season reset, if you have a card reserved there, at that point you can discard that card, regaining your reservation token so that you can use it in this upcoming season. Or if you've already used it, at this point during a season reset, you're going to be able to flip it back over to its ready side so that you can use it again during the next season. So basically with the reservation token, you can only use it once per season for the 4 seasons in the game. Well, I hope you found the video helpful in learning about this expansion and whether or not this is one you'd like to add to your game of Everdell. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please post those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video and leave me feedback on it. If you did find it helpful, please consider giving that a thumbs up as well. It really helps with the algorithm and I appreciate it. Until next time, I'll see you later.